Picture this, making a man think about you all day long, not by bombarding him with messages, not by overexerting yourself, and definitely not by chasing after perfection. Sometimes, just 3 thoughtful words, said with purpose, can make the difference between being easily forgotten and becoming someone unforgettable. And no, this isn't a gimmick or a recycled line from a romantic comedy. There's no trickery involved here. What you're about to learn is how real attraction works beneath the surface, on a deeply psychological level. As Carl Jung, the famed psychologist, once emphasized, the connections that leave the strongest mark on us are rarely logical. They're rooted in emotion and symbolism. It's not just what you see that pulls you in, it's the deeper meaning your unconscious assigns to it. And that's precisely the path we're about to take. Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life, and you will call it fate." So why not learn how to speak directly to a man's subconscious right from your very first interaction? Most women tend to open conversations with safe, familiar phrases like, "Hey, how are you?" or "How's your day going?" And that's where it ends. No chemistry, no intrigue, no story being told. And what happens next? He answers politely, but his attention slips away because your words didn't spark emotion, didn't paint a mental picture, didn't pique his curiosity. And without emotion, there's no lasting impression. The mind doesn't cling to words, it clings to the feelings those words create. Jung made this distinction clear. It's emotion that embeds a memory in our minds. So if it hasn't worked in the past, it's not because you're lacking, it's because the tools you were using weren't tuned to what truly resonates. But that's about to shift. Because once you learn to speak with intention and emotional resonance, you don't just catch his attention, you awaken something in him that lingers, something he may not fully understand, but can't dismiss. And that's when you begin to live in his thoughts, even when you're nowhere nearby. Now, before we get to those 3 powerful words, pause for a moment. How many times have you tried to start a conversation and felt like it went nowhere? Probably more than a few, but that doesn't reflect your worth. It just means you were using language that didn't trigger his emotional core. Now pay close attention, these 3 words won't cast a spell, but when delivered with the right energy, they can completely transform how he views you. And when they become a natural part of how you speak, the shift is striking. Many women believe they need to impress in order to be desired, to look flawless, say the perfect thing, always be appealing. But here's what Jung understood deeply: the male subconscious doesn't respond to perfection. It responds to symbols. That means it's not about being ideal, it's about evoking a feeling. You don't need grand topics to do that. What matters most is that you stop blending in. Think about it. If he's hearing the same greetings, compliments, or conversations from multiple women each day, they blur together into background noise. But you're not meant to blend into the background. You're meant to be remembered. The problem isn't that you spoke to him, it's that the interaction lacked depth. And when that happens, it's as if you never made an impression at all. Worse, some women try to compensate with intensity, sending long texts, offering excessive compliments, or asking non-stop questions. But that only pushes him away. It feels overwhelming. It breaks the emotional balance. So how do you make a lasting impression from the start? First, drop the robotic lines. Second, never forget. Attraction doesn't arise just from what's said. It emerges from how it's said, and more importantly, how it makes him feel. Imagine this. You walk into a cafe and spot the guy you've had your eye on. Most women might ask, "Are you waiting for someone?" Or, "Mind if I join you?" It's polite, it's safe, and it's completely forgettable. Now try this. Instead, you flash a knowing smile and say, "You and I have to settle something. Is the coffee here genuinely good? Or is it just putting on a show?" Feel the shift? That's not just a line, it's an interruption to his usual script. A little jolt that grabs his attention. It's a spark that makes him stop and really notice you. It's a moment with emotional depth, something that echoes in his thoughts, even if he can't quite explain why. Because once that spark is lit, you become memorable. And from that moment, he begins to see you in a different light. It's time to leave behind bland greetings and predictable conversations. In moments of connection, you either make an impression or disappear. But now you understand how to stand out. And it begins with 3 small words: you and me. Yes, they seem too plain to hold real power. But the strength isn't in the words themselves, it's in what they suggest. When you say you and me, you're not tossing out a casual remark, you're painting a mental picture. One where the 2 of you are already aligned, already part of a shared scenario. You're planting a subtle suggestion, creating the image of a possibility, a scene where he starts seeing you as part of his world. That's where the real magic is. Jung often spoke about the unconscious and its deep symbolic language, and you and me fits right into that realm. It becomes a symbol, a soft mental trigger. It evokes visuals, stirs a quiet sense of curiosity, and opens the imagination. Because you're not seeking permission, you're offering a confident, graceful suggestion. Think about this difference. When you ask, "Would you like to go out with me?" you're giving him the power to decide. You're waiting on his approval. But when you say, "You and me should grab a drink Saturday," the game changes. It's not a request, it's a calm, self-assured vision. And that kind of statement, that leaves an imprint. Let's walk through a real scenario. You're chatting with someone new, and the vibe is just right. The conversation flows effortlessly. Instead of saying, "I really enjoy talking to you," which is nice, but a bit predictable, try this. "You and me could have dangerously fun conversations." Feel the difference? It's flirty, it's fresh, and it sparks imagination. Most importantly, it introduces the idea of you two subtly, but powerfully. That's how you start shifting his perception of you. Why is this so effective? Because those 3 words signal 3 powerful traits that men find incredibly compelling. Confidence. You're not unsure, you're expressing certainty. Clarity. You know exactly what you want, and you're not afraid to say it. Initiative. You're not just sitting back waiting, you know when to take the lead. But here's the catch. This isn't about throwing "you and me" at every guy you meet. Its impact depends just as much on delivery as it does on timing. If you say it nervously, with downward glances or a shaky tone, the moment falls flat. But when you deliver it with poise, with a calm voice, a gentle smile, and direct eye contact, it creates an entirely different effect. So the next time you're speaking with someone who truly interests you, skip the empty cliches, drop a well-timed "you and me," then observe what happens. Because in attraction, just like in life, words have weight when they're delivered with presence. Now, here's the real challenge. How and when do you use that phrase so it actually makes an impression? You already have the phrase, "you and me," but using it randomly, that's a mistake. This isn't a magic line, it's a trigger. And like any good trigger, it only works when it's pulled with purpose. First rule, timing matters. These words work best when there's already a spark, not necessarily full-blown chemistry, but at least a little flow in the interaction. Let's say you're talking about music and realize you're both fans of the same band. That's your moment. Try something like, "You and me should totally check out one of their shows sometime." What have you just done? You didn't ask for anything, you painted a picture. Now he's imagining what that moment might look like with you in it. Second rule, the tone is crucial. You can say the most impactful thing in the world, but if your energy is timid or hesitant, it loses its power. Real confidence isn't loud, it's steady, quietly certain. That's the energy that transforms you and me into something magnetic. So slow down, breathe, and say it like it's the most natural thing in the world. No stiffness, no anxious laughter, just calm, self-assured energy that quietly says, "I know who I am." Third rule, read the room. If he's distracted, stressed, or it's too early in your interaction, hold off. The magic fades if the timing and context aren't aligned with the moment. And above all, let it feel real, not like something you rehearsed over and over, but like a spontaneous thought that emerged naturally in the moment. Carl Jung often referred to synchronicity, those uncanny coincidences that seem destined. That's the feeling you want to channel. Your words should blend seamlessly into the moment, not feel scripted. There's a fine line between someone who naturally inspires connection and someone who's trying too hard, and people can sense that. One is genuine and confident, the other just performing. So use it wisely. Say "you and me" with the right tone, at the right moment, with calm eye contact, and watch how he begins to see you in a new light. Now, let's address the biggest mistake that can completely ruin the effect: coming on too strong. Sure, those words have power, but picture this. You've just met a guy and suddenly you say, "You and me need to hang out this weekend." What happens? Awkward silence, emotional distance. The connection evaporates. Not because the phrase was wrong, but because it came too soon. Attraction isn't something you force, it's something you invite. It should feel breezy and light, not like a demand. Say it with too much energy, and it becomes pressure. And pressure, that shuts people down. Here's how to do it right. Imagine you're having a relaxed, fun exchange. There's a spark. You're both laughing. That's when you casually say, "You and me, we'd make a dangerously great team." You're not making a request. You're not chasing. You're planting a tiny seed that lingers in his mind. Now flip the script. You've only been chatting for 5 minutes. And then in a serious tone you drop, "You and me should be together." What does that create? Not desire. Red flags. It feels rushed, like you skipped straight to the end without building a story. Another major error, overusing the phrase. If you say "you and me" every chance you get, It stops feeling playful and starts sounding needy. The magic lies in its restraint. This phrase is a spark, not a catchphrase. When it comes to genuine curiosity and connection, less always goes further. A little mystery is more captivating than constant reassurance. Here's the key. Use it once, maybe twice, and then pause. Let the silence carry your words. That's where the real magic is, not in what's said, but in what stays with him long after. Sometimes, he won't respond right away, and that's okay. It doesn't mean it missed the mark. In fact, he might replay that moment all day, that one effortless, playful remark you dropped wondering why it stuck. The biggest misstep, saying "you and me," and then nervously watching him for a reaction, searching his face for approval. That ruins the spark. But if you say it with calm and then continue talking as if it were nothing, that's when it stays with him. That's the moment he begins to wonder what just happened. There's confidence, there's ease, no neediness. That's the winning combination. When you deliver those words like someone who understands her own strength, a doorway opens. But when those words come from uncertainty or vulnerability, that door shuts before it ever swings open. Now, let's touch on something often skipped but absolutely vital: body language. You might know what to say and when, but if your posture and gestures don't match, your words lose impact. Jung taught, the body speaks what the soul cannot. Your movements often communicate more than your words, sometimes even before you speak. For example, if you say, "You and me should go out this Saturday," but your voice is quiet, your eyes downcast, and your shoulders slumped as though asking permission, you kill the energy. Your body is sending the message, "I'm not confident about this." And if you're uncertain, neither will he be. Contrast that with maintaining eye contact just a beat longer than usual, softening your lips into a relaxed smile. Your message doesn't just reach his ears, it resonates in his unconscious. Confidence without arrogance is deeply magnetic. Your tone should be composed and unhurried, as if what you're saying is entirely natural. Because in your mind, it is. Calmness conveys a powerful message. I don't need validation. But if our energies align, this could be something worth exploring. Pay attention to how you carry yourself. Crossing arms, shrinking into yourself, avoiding space, these are signs of discomfort. But when you're open, relaxed, and occupy your space without tension, you radiate effortless confidence. It's subtle but unmistakable. Imagine you're engaged in a playful chat and you say, "You and me would make a dangerous team." If it's delivered in a monotone, with downward gaze, it's just words. But spoken with steady eye contact, a soft smile, and calm tone, it becomes an emotional anchor he can't shake. One final caution: even perfect delivery can be undone by hanging on his reaction. You don't need to hang on his every expression like a judge is grading you. Say what you need to say, then keep going, carry on the conversation as though it's no big deal. That "I'm secure with or without your reaction" energy is magnetic, because the most compelling element of what you say is the peaceful conviction behind it. And yes, this technique transcends romance. So far, we've focused on its power in attraction, but let's shift it to other contexts. Picture yourself in a work meeting where tension arises. Instead of the usual, "We need to find a solution," try this: "You and me can figure this out fast." What have you accomplished just then? You've offered confidence, demonstrated trust, established an immediate sense of partnership. You're catching up with a friend you haven't seen in a while. Instead of the usual, "How have you been?" try saying, "You and me have a conversation that's long overdue." Suddenly, what might have been a stiff, polite exchange becomes warm and emotionally engaging. According to Carl Jung, what he called relational archetypes come alive when we use language that truly fosters connection. And the phrase "you and me" is like a universal key. It unlocks genuine connection across every area of life. Because at our core, no matter if it's in relationships, friendships, or at work, we all long for the same thing: to feel seen, valued, and chosen. And with just 3 intentional words, you can spark that sense of belonging if you use them with purpose. You've probably heard or said, "We should catch up sometime." It's pleasant, but vague. Now imagine this instead. You smile and say, "You and me need to catch up this week." Instantly, the vibe shifts. It's not a passive suggestion, it's a clear, sincere invitation that carries presence. And that, trust me, changes everything. Here's what's even better. When "you and me" becomes part of how you naturally speak, you don't just change how others interact with you, you transform how you see yourself. You gain clarity. You communicate with impact. Your presence becomes compelling. And then, something remarkable happens. People begin to engage with you differently, with more interest, more sincerity, more focus. Why? Because beneath it all, we're all searching for the same feeling: to be a part of something real, to be recognized. And when you look someone in the eyes and say just 3 words that suggest connection, you give them exactly that emotional inclusion. Jung once said that our deepest transformations come not through thought, but through the emotions we feel in the presence of others. And that's what happens when you and me is spoken from the heart. You invite shared experience. You open the door for meaningful connection. So don't keep this phrase locked in the world of dating. Bring it into all areas of life. Use it with friends. Use it at work. Use it with family. This isn't about charm, it's about sincerity and connection. And soon, you'll notice your relationships shift. They'll feel more honest, more fluid, more alive. Because what really makes someone unforgettable isn't just their words. It's the emotional imprint those words leave behind. Yes, words hold power, but only when delivered with real presence, genuine awareness, and heartfelt intent. You and me isn't a gimmick. It's not a rehearsed line. It's an emotional bridge, a moment of truth. And when spoken with the right energy, it can redirect a conversation, deepen a bond, even change a life. We've seen how a phrase deceptively simple can completely shift the dynamics of a conversation. It can ignite interest, build attraction, and deepen connection in ways most people overlook. But here's the key. It's never just about the words. It's how you deliver them with poise, with certainty, at exactly the right time, like someone who doesn't need to prove anything, because she already knows her value. True attraction doesn't come from trying too hard. It comes from presence, from extending an authentic invitation and giving the other person space to meet you there. No pressure, no act. Now it's in your hands. Don't let this stay an idea, put it into action. Use you and me with thoughtful timing, with natural ease, with genuine charm. Notice how the mood shifts, how the interaction feels more alive, how your own sense of self-assurance starts to grow from the inside out. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. There's more insight coming to help you speak with confidence, connect with clarity, and express yourself more powerfully. Hit the like button if you want more tools like this. And drop a comment. Has someone ever made you feel truly seen just by how they spoke to you? Because meaningful communication isn't about saying more, it's about saying what matters, in a way that makes people feel truly heard.